Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where today we are discussing Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, written by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, my copy from 1969. Today, and more specifically, we are talking about the beginning of chapter 4. And the concept is you are a mind with a body. And it all begins in the mind first. The chapter itself is titled, Will You Dare to Explore the Powers of Your Mind? And I titled this, You Are a Mind with a Body, because the first portion that we'll be reviewing today and discussing is all about recognizing what actually we have in terms of power with our minds. And we're asked at the beginning, why explore the powers of our mind? Why even explore them? And we're told here that when you make the discoveries that are awaiting you, they can bring you physical, mental, moral health, happiness, and wealth, and success in your chosen field of endeavor, and even a means to affect, use, control, control, or harmonize with powers known and unknown. Talks about we know we have two portions, right? We have the conscious and the subconscious mind. What I like is the first story that's told here, and it's on page 44 of the book. In the PDF, I'm thinking it's on page 44, but again, it's in chapter 4. And it's a story about Bill McCall of Sydney, Australia. And he went from a journey of failure and defeat to success and achievement. So it's Bill McCall of Sydney, Australia. So when he was 19 years old, he started a business, his first one, selling hides and skins. And that one failed. And then at age 21, he ran for federal Congress. And again, he failed. Now it seems that instead of crushing him, these and other defeats, these weren't the first two, motivated this young Australian to develop inspirational dissatisfaction. So he began searching for rules of success. He intentionally went out to find those rules of success because Bill McCall wanted to become rich. And he thought he could find rules for acquiring wealth in inspirational books. Therefore, while checking the inspirational book section at the library, he came across the title Think and Grow Rich. He borrowed the book and he began to read it. Then he read it again. And then he read it again. And even though he had read it 3 times, he was still unable to understand exactly how he could apply the principles whereby some of the richest men in the world acquired their wealth. Now, 3 times reading through of Think and Grow Rich, and he still didn't quite get it. This is what he says. He says, I was reading Think and Grow Rich for the 4th time while walking leisurely along a business street in Sydney. And then it happened. It happened suddenly. I stopped in front of a meat market window, glanced up, and in that very fraction of a second, I had a flash of inspiration. And he continues, I exclaimed aloud, that's it, I've got it. I was startled at my emotional outburst. So was a lady who was passing by. She stopped and looked at me in amazement. I hurried home with my new discovery. Then he continued seriously. And he says, you see, I was reading chapter 4, titled Autosuggestion. The subheading was the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. And he remembered that when he was a boy, his father used to read aloud from Emile Coué's little book, Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion. So while he's telling his story to actually face-to-face to Napoleon Hill, so he looks at Napoleon Hill and says, it was you who pointed out in your book that if Emile Coué was successful in helping individuals avoid sickness and in bringing the sick back to good health through conscious autosuggestion, autosuggestion could also be used to acquire riches or anything else one might desire. Get rich through autosuggestion. That was my great discovery. It was a new concept to me. And then he described the principles, and it was almost as if he had memorized them from the book itself. Now, why wouldn't he have if this was a 4th read? But he says this, Conscious autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature, or by neglect, permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into the rich garden of his mind. When you read aloud twice daily the written statement of your desire for money with emotion and concentrated attention, and you see and feel yourself already in possession of the money, you communicate the object of your desire directly to your subconscious mind. Through repetition, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Let me say it again. It is most important that when you read aloud the statement of your desire through which you are endeavoring to develop a money consciousness, you read with emotion and strong feeling. Your ability to use the principles of autosuggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning desire. He goes on to say this. Mind you, he's in the middle of telling this story to Napoleon Hill. When I arrived home, out of breath for running, I immediately sat down at the dining room table and I wrote this. My definite major aim is to be a millionaire by 1960. Now, still looking at Napoleon Hill, he continues. You mentioned that a person should be specific as to the amount of money he wants and set a date. And that's what he did. Now, the man we're talking about isn't the young Bill McCall who failed at the age of 19. At the time of this writing and the time of the telling of this story, he was known as the Honorable William V. McCall. He was known as the youngest man who ever became a member of the Australian Parliament. He was known as chairman of the board of directors of the Coca-Cola subsidiary in Sydney. He was known as the director of 22 family-owned corporations. And as to riches, he is a millionaire, as rich as some of the men who he had read about in the book from which he got his inspiration to explore the power of his subconscious mind with self-suggestion. And he became a millionaire 4 years ahead of schedule. Alrighty, how's that for focused attention? How's that for making use of the subconscious mind? What I liked, all right, so the first thing I got out of it was that it took him 4 readings. Made me feel much better because I didn't get it the first time I read it through either. Would love to see any comments or have somebody join me in the live stream and discuss this. Your thoughts? Yeah, 4 years ahead of schedule. Now, do we know why? Because it sounded like he was really committed to doing what needed to be done. Once he got that aha moment is when the commitment came in, didn't it? Because then he understood why he was doing something. Good morning, Ann. It's good to see you. Hi, Christopher. Welcome. So he did exactly what the principles told him to do. He read, once he wrote down his desire, right? It was a simple sentence, wasn't it? I want to be a millionaire by 1960. It can't get much more simple than that. And then things started opening up for him because he read it every day with emotion. It's really what he wanted. He read it twice. And because he was feeding this into his subconscious and he was visualizing what it looked like to be a millionaire, opportunities presented themselves to him. And the next time he was able to try something, it worked. But until then, he didn't know, why did he fail before? He didn't know why he was doing what he was doing. He didn't have a definite cheap aim he was going after. So with that focus and rereading to refocus, it made his whole being just more. Thank you, Christy. Okay. So we have it. So what you're saying then is I'm reading it in the morning and I have my focus on it. And I'm reading it at night and I have my focus on it. And I do that enough and it becomes bigger, doesn't it? That's what he was talking about the burning desire. The burning desire is more. than just that desire. More in tune with himself, with his purpose and passion. Yeah, more in tune to see opportunities. Exactly. That's the importance of the major chief aim, right? Your major definite purpose, your major chief aim is to know what you're going after. And then the why of it is that emotion that's attached to it. But then telling yourself every single day, this is what you're going after. That's what we're talking about here is why, because he's telling himself, as Christy pointed out, he's reinforcing that emotional attachment to it. He's making sure he remembers the passion attached to it. All right. What else we got? Anybody else want to jump in? Talk about autosuggestion and the power of autosuggestion. You know, we've talked about over this past year or so about affirmations and how sometimes somebody else's affirmation just doesn't fit, right? And his affirmations to himself were based on his definite chief aim, which proves why somebody else's affirmation oftentimes doesn't sit right with us or fit. But we can come up with our own self-motivators and our own affirmations, because once we know what we're going after and we have that emotion attached to it, then we can figure out what it is that's going to keep us motivated to go after it, because we've got the emotion attached. What do y'all think of that one? Does that make sense? One of the reasons why I liked the title of You Are a Mind with a Body, not a body with a mind, is because of the those who suffer from disabilities, physical disabilities, paraplegics, paralysis, missing limbs, and the struggle that they have to redefine themselves, if you will, from the outside, and those that have that positive mental attitude, that are able to see that they are a mind with a body, not a body with a mind, are able to achieve things more quickly and move forward more quickly. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a physical therapist who talked about that. Attitude made all the difference in the world, because they understood. They, being the patient, and that physical therapist, understood the importance of telling yourself you can. Understanding that you can do this, and saying it repeatedly. What do y'all think? Got anything you want to share about things you tell yourself that keep you moving forward? Or when your aha moment was, when you were able to tap into your passion? I know some of you are considering coming into live stream. I'm not even going to double dog dare you. I'm just going to, if you want to jump in, you can.
Hi.
There she is. Hey, Christy. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm still having my coffee. So, as you well know, this time of the morning isn't my favorite without coffee.
Well, we're sharing a pot too.
Right.
So you all know she's like 10 feet from me. And it's really bizarre. Because I don't know if I should mute her here or mute her over there.
Good luck with that.
Anyway, good morning, Christy.
Good morning. So, that self-affirmation, those things that, we kind of tell ourselves, as you well know, part of why we're even off-site this week is the whole I was successful yesterday at achieving my goal, and it took me months to get there because I had that moment last year where I couldn't do something I thought I could do. And it was a devastating moment, like I said in my 2 cent video. And then I just realized nobody's going to fix it for me. And so I have to do these things to change me so that I can make those changes to have the lifestyle that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand this stuff, but until you apply it, it's not going to work. Because I love these concepts, right? We talk concepts a lot, but how do we apply it in our daily lives? Because it has to be like this guy reread it 4 times, and it was daily reading. Because once you get it in there daily, you're going to go, oh, okay, I'm going to put this to use. It wasn't just the fact that he read it; he had to have put it to use somewhere. And so, what are we doing to put it to use? Well, for me, there's this one goal I wanted to hit, and that became by damn, I'm going to do it.
That was your chief
That was
desire,
my
your
chief
aim.
desire for a while. And, I'm the type that I'll have 2 or 3 going at once. So that was a personal one. That was my physical one. And I've got one for business. And then I've got one, now I've got another one that the business is going to help accomplish in my, physical manifestation or whatever, not just in my body, but my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's going to take a daily concerted effort to stay on track. Because for me, if I don't do this stuff consistently, if I don't put in these good, positive mental attitude things, like whatever affirmations I may have for myself, or reading these books or whatever, if I don't actually take action on a daily basis to read or say it out loud or whatever, I know I'm going to get lazy. I'd rather just sit on the couch and do nothing. And I don't need that to be my natural default. So I need to make sure my natural default becomes daily consistent action of positive mental attitude stuff.
Right. Because that is what gets you moving. And that's the only way to change a habit.
And coffee.
And coffee. Yeah, coffee. It's a beautiful thing. I'm looking up. We have a pot over there and I need a refill. So listen, I'm working on 1 cup today. Usually I have almost a pot of coffee in me by the time I start this.
Right.
But actually, that's good stuff you're saying, because what you're saying is tell yourself something every single day, but it's the emotion behind it, and you're reinforcing that emotion behind it, so that when the days that you really don't want to do something that you've committed to doing happen, you still do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Because
you still show up and do it.
The one of the reasons for me that what I succeeded with yesterday worked is because of my emotional attachment to that final end result. Right? It's basically for those of you watching and listening, last fall I could not get on a specific ride at Universal Studios in Orlando, and I had a horrible few moments after that because I'd never experienced that before. And I realized for the rest of the day, I had to make some changes. My life was going, my body was putting on its own force field because of a lot of stress. And so I needed to make a lot of changes so that I could get my body back in order to do the things that I love to do, which part of that is riding roller coasters. And if I can't fit in them, I can't do them, and therefore I don't get to enjoy what I like. So change had to happen. Now, to keep me on track for that change was, I want to get in that ride. I missed out on that, and I want to get on that again. And so that was my driver, my emotional driver, this whole time when I didn't feel like doing some strength training, or I didn't feel like going out and walking or doing Zumba on a Wednesday night, whatever. If I didn't feel like it, I had to remind myself, you're getting in the roller coaster. You're getting in that seat. And that was my consistent emotional driver for it.
And it worked. You got on it yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And yesterday, I also took the time throughout the day to work on my next phase, because that was the phase 1. I don't want to stop. this isn't ultimately where I want to be. So I already know what my next phase is going to look like, and that'll be in August for my birthday.
And Cameron saying he lived in Orlando and loved always going to Disney. Problem was he wasn't tall enough. Yeah, that's why they make lifts for shoes, right? Oh, sorry. See, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm sorry, Cameron, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. You know, that's what we just think it through. Let's get a little creative. And if you were as short as some people I know, you probably would have needed stilts. Bless your heart. I know a gal who's I think she's all of 4'8", maybe something like that. She almost qualifies as a little person.
I was hoping, Cameron, that it was whenever you were younger.
Yeah. 5'10" now. Yeah, no problem getting on the rides.
Yeah.
Terrific. Great stuff, Christy. See, proof that when you're focused on the end goal, you know what it is, but you have that emotion attached to it. Mm-hmm. Then you develop your own self-motivators. And part of it was just simply reminding that it was the end goal. This is why I'm doing it. Constant reminder. This is why I'm doing it. That's like me in my normal office environment. I also have it as part of a series of images on my computer, is the RV that we're going to live in. And the lake we're going to be visiting often. And looking at this is the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. So when I've had stumbles along the way with my business, and that's business related, when I remember why I'm doing the kind of business that I'm doing, and I'm bringing on different projects and deciding, I have goals for the business, but this is the personal goal. It's tied together because with the business, we're going to be able to do what I want to do. Of course, he's on board too. So feeding ourselves, feeding that body, that mind, feeding the conscious mind, the emotional attachment to the why, being the why we're doing what we're doing, helps to keep me moving forward, because there are some things I just don't want to do with my business, but it has to be done because I want that revenue and I want that particular dollar amount. That dollar amount is tied to the lifestyle. Well, it's currently tied to maintaining the lifestyle we currently have, which is fine. The lifestyle is fine. It's not, some people would be quite happy with the way we live our lives. It's just not where we want to ultimately be. So feeding myself, right? This is the why. This is why I'm doing it. So I do it through visual. I've got some pictures available on a semi-regular basis, at least once a week. I review what's for sale, right? What kind of things are coming up for sale to see how the pricing has changed. And trust me, it's changed over the past few years, actually gone down. But preparing, right? New technologies come out. So understanding that the technology I had originally investigated and researched in order to be able to do what I want to do with my business anywhere in the country. Then I had to look at all the new technology coming in, and I'm keeping track of that, of what's going to keep me online. So that keeps it going because this is real. Otherwise, just as some people have said, a dream is just a dream until you set it as a goal. Now that it's a goal, it's real because now I have to do concrete things in order to do it. And I do those concrete things because I've been keeping that stuff in front of me. But
you're formulating a plan for it.
Right. And it reveals itself as I move forward. This has been something that's really hung up a lot of people. And in this story about Bill McCall, he doesn't go into the details of how his path to being a millionaire actually appeared. But it's pretty easy to glean that by doing all the things we talk about doing in order to succeed, that the plan was revealed to him. When he saw opportunity, it made sense because it fit his ultimate goal. That's really what the plan's about. We're not talking about putting forth a business plan to go get money from somebody else so we can run our business. We're talking about a plan to and whatever that path looks like to get from point A to point B. And your path is different than my path, only because our ultimate goals are different. We find ourselves along the same path. I don't know. And we do things, that's when we collaborate, right?
Exactly.
That's when we're doing the same projects and it appears like we might have the same goal. But if you talk to us, you can talk to Christy and I and me, and you'll see that we have very distinctly different end goals of what we are working towards. And yet we work great together because along the way, oh, that fits what I'm doing. That fits what I'm doing. Let's do this and make money together, right? And yes, financial freedom is ultimately, I'm addressing Cameron, financial freedom is my ultimate goal. Yes, as is mine. As is mine. So that's the ultimate goal. Go ahead, Christy.
I was going to say, I can step out and let Cameron come in, give him a few minutes with you.
Oh, there's an extra seat. All right, you can do that as long as you fill my coffee cup.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right. So yes, Matt, both trying to create positive change, build one another up. That's part of it. And when you're collaborating in a project or building a business of your own and allowing somebody else to help you build your business in some way, then that's what ends up happening, is because you understand that you both have an ultimate goal for the project you're working on and or a definite goal, right? And then as you're working together, oftentimes the ultimate goal is revealed to each other, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I know what Christy's is. She knows what mine is more in depth than what I've talked about here in a dollop, if you want. Yeah, a dollop isn't a strange word for $1. She's fixing my coffee because she's pretty nice that way. And ultimately, yes, Matt, along the way, what we're doing is we are creating positive change. Thank you, Christy. We are creating positive change, and that's a side effect, honestly. Because I will be the first one to tell you that isn't part of my definition of what my ultimate plan is. It is a side effect, though. Good morning, Karen. It's good to see you here. Welcome. Oh, Karen, she missed me. Thank you. Yes, the road trip was fun. We had a great day on the road and then spent great day yesterday doing things. And another day is planned today. We still have a couple more days. Then we'll be on the road again. And I'm glad you liked my fill-in. Christian's a pretty good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy. That's why I like him to fill in for me. So what we feed our mind is what will be drawn into our subconscious. And this is what we're talking about now, is autosuggestion. We're talking about we are a mind first that can control our body, that can control our thoughts, that can control our emotions. It all starts up here first. It's interesting that Emil Coué, who wrote about self-suggestion and autosuggestion and conscious autosuggestion, was used in health. And because it was through that I was able, and I didn't know any of this, honest engine. I didn't read these books. I didn't know who Emil Coué is. I didn't have a clue. In 2000, I was diagnosed with Crohn's. I should have died. According to the doctor, I was a month or so away from dying. I was only a week's away. To put days, actually it was days, putting me into the hospital. I was so malnourished and underweight and my body was beginning to do shutdown things. So all that outward medicine, thank goodness for modern chemistry, everything was put into me that could be in order to treat symptoms and get me okay. And eventually I was. But I became medication dependent, right? I was told I'm going to have to be on an IV medication every 8 weeks for the rest of my life. No, that's not an option. Then I was told I was going to have to take these medications, maintenance medications, every single day for the rest of my life. That didn't sit well with me at all. I was taking up to 16 pills a day. I don't like taking pills. I didn't like it every single time I had to take it. I liked that it controlled the symptoms, liked what it did for me. I didn't like taking the medicine. So, and it really wasn't working in my mind because I was still having symptoms and I would have flare-ups. And what a flare-up meant was that I couldn't leave the house for 2 to 3 weeks, literally. And that I was a mess. So I put it in my mind that I was going to find an answer to this. I was going to find a way for me not to be medication dependent and to fix my body. So I started researching and finding groups of people who had done various things. I was up on the latest research in the medical field of what was happening. Because you see, there's still no definitive way to diagnose Crohn's. It is based on symptoms. So that bothered me. So I said, well, all right, so if the problem is really the symptoms, let's take care of the symptoms and figure out how the symptoms came to be. So ultimately for me, when I look back now, what I realized and found to be true, this is what I found to be true for me, is that the symptoms were manifested by stress. They were exacerbated by stress, a different kind of stress. So they were manifested by emotional stress. They were exacerbated by physical stress because I was a road warrior. I was an engineer on the road, flying constantly. And so I have all that. And then they were exacerbated by stress that was in response to outside things happening. Okay. I mean, we had a house flood and we were homeless for 7 months. I was going to school full-time as an adult, working part-time, and then suddenly had to go to work full-time in order to have enough money because you don't stop paying the mortgage. And then we had, we had the cancer scare. That was fun. And then all the issues related to cancer and taking care of that and monies and everything related to that. So trust me, it's a lot of stress. So I looked at all that, and there was more. But I looked at all that and said, so how do we reduce the stress? How do I take care of my insides, my emotional well-being, my mental anxiety, and things like that? Well, by this time, I'd already started my own business because I'd taken care of the outside stress that was causing me the emotional stress. I was no longer a field engineer. I was working inside a corporate setting that wasn't suitable to me, so I left that. It's one stressor gone. I knew that if I could work at home or if I could work location independent someplace, I can work anywhere, which obviously I can, that I could get through this. So I'm taking care of the symptoms, right? I'm trying to find the root causes of the stressors that were causing all these issues. So in June of 2008, I started my business. And over the next few years, I did all this research and I started making changes to the diet and I started making changes to what I did in the mornings and I made changes to the people I surrounded myself with. And while I was still putting myself in stressful situations, it was different. The stress was different because there was a reason, there was an ultimate reason for me to put myself in that stress. All right, so there's the background. Took way too long. My apologies. Don't blame me if you want to go. The whole point is that what eventually happened is I committed to every night doing a walkthrough. Yes, I'm talking about the power of the mind. I did a walkthrough through my body every single night. And I asked God to heal me through every part of my body, and I visualized every single part that was affected by the Crohn's. I changed my diet, and it wasn't even like a lot of people remove things and check things out. I changed my diet, and I developed my own little green smoothie, and I drank that every single morning, and I committed to drinking that every single morning. But I firmly believe that what I'm today medication free. I don't take a pill. I haven't been an IV for years. And when I travel, I don't have my green smoothie. But it's okay. I don't go completely off track. It works for me. The thing that I know to be true is that I was consciously telling myself what my internal body was going to look like. I can articulate it that way right now because we've been reading Think and Grow Rich. We've been through it 3 times. We're reading things like Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. So I can articulate it that way that says, because that's what I did. I laid in bed and I made a conscious effort to tell my body step by step, piece by piece inside how you were going to look and how you're going to heal yourself while also doing a couple other things. So my emotional health improved, not only just the stress, but I started looking deeper into the prayer meditation that I'd always done, started focusing on that a little bit more, focused on what the business needed. And from all of that, I was able to gain the strength to do what needed to be done to grow my business. And today, here I sit. So to me, that is an example. I think I'm right. I think I'm on track. Betsy, thank you. All right. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. You can tell yourself whatever you want. And one of the things that struck me is that for years, I had told myself negative things. So, of course, the negative things came true. So I have no problem telling you that, well, why not tell yourself the positive things? You know, why not? If the negative can tear you down, build yourself up. So Cameron is saying he's been diagnosed with 3 different things by 3 different specialists with stomach problems. And when he finally got settled in a happy environment, he finally started seeing it stop. Fabulous. Good for you. Betsy, Western medicine is about symptoms, not underlying causes. Disease management, not healthcare. You're living proof it all works. Yeah, and again, I'm not telling anybody, I didn't go into all the details. I'm just telling you that it started up here. And Cameron, smells in certain foods will set you off. That's interesting. Get in tune with our inner self. Answers are there. Simple and not easy for many people. Yes, Betsy, and that's what we're talking about with this, is how to get in tune with your inner self. These are all principles that people ahead of us have used, right? And every one of those people, every one of them, when you meet them, are very different from the other. These are just principles that all of us can apply. I just showed you an example of how I was able to apply it to my health issue. Christy shared her example of how she was able to apply it. You know, it can be long-term, it can be short-term. But the point of this principle is that we make the conscious effort to tell ourselves something on a regular basis with an emotion attached to it, so it becomes real. It becomes very real. And that's when real things start to happen. All right, and hi, Fraser. Good morning. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Hey, Rocco. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here as well. He's another example. Rocco's definitely an example of setting out the goal and being so focused on it. He had an emotional attachment to it, right? Selling that album. Had that emotional attachment to it. Every single day I could see him on social media, and he was reinforcing what he wanted to do and what he wanted to get done every single day. And he did it. Betsy, I plan to apply them in a course for future birth workers. One can take all the classes and even business classes. It won't work until you believe it before you see it. Right. So we can, I can teach you all the tactical stuff, and I always call myself a trainer. And it's because I really am more comfortable teaching you tactical skills because it's tangible, because it makes sense to you, because you can see an immediate result. Along the way, if it makes sense while I'm training you on something tactical to share an emotional insight or maybe a perspective that you may find helpful, I'll do that. But it's so very difficult for me to train anybody on things like these principles. And it's because it's left to you to determine. First, you got to want it. And the only way I know to do it is my way, which is why we're here, so everybody else can tell you how they did it and how they're looking at the principles, so that somewhere along the lines you're going to get a light bulb moment where you, like Bill McCall in the story we read, can say, yeah, that's it. And Bill's big moment after 4 times reading the book, Think and Grow Rich, was that autosuggestion is the key. And it was for him. If I tell myself this every single day, I will come to believe it. If I have emotion attached to it, I'll not only come to believe it, I will start doing things to make it happen. And the beauty of it is, and Betsy, I believe this is what you're saying, we can all bring an awareness of the principles to whatever we are up to in our business. It's like replacing the software. Yeah, we're constantly getting an upgrade. The more we study these and the more we put them into action, that's what I liked about what Christy was sharing, is that intellectually, I can tell you every single one of these principles. You can too. You can just get the book and read them out loud, right? One of the reasons I ask, what's your takeaway? Every single time we're on here, be it on when I'm on the recording or after the recording, I always ask you, what's your takeaway? Because what I want you to do, and what I hope you do, is what I do, is identify really what today is the one thing that I'm going to be able to take away and put into action. How can that apply to me right now? So that's what I'm bringing to you. So think about it for a second, and if you're up for sharing it in the chat or coming into the live stream, that's cool. What's your takeaway with the idea that you are a mind with a body, that you can consciously make a decision to feed your subconscious specific things, that you can come up with your own idea of what success is. You decide what your definite chief aim is, what it is you're going after, and you decide how important that is to you, and attach that emotion and feed that to your subconscious mind. So I guess one thing I could ask too in terms of a takeaway is, if you've known this and you've done some things on, exercises to get yourself to the point where, yeah, I know what I'm working towards and I've got an emotion attached to it. Are you doing something today to reach it? And if you're not there, and this is the first or second or third time you've heard about the principle of autosuggestion, and you're doubtful, then listen to me and read some of the chat and read some stories to see how other people have put it to use. Good morning, Linda. Welcome. Good to have you with us. So anybody have comments or takeaways that they would like to share? We get to be our own experiment. Okay, Bitsy. I'm telling you, when I had all the medical issues, I actually looked at my entire body as well. Now we are going into a medical experiment. We're going to see just what the human body is about. So Cameron's saying there's a lot of people problems. When people chase their goals, my problem is wondering if people would judge me, and on top of that, thinking about how they would judge me if I failed. Once I got over that is when I saw myself start being more happy, productive, and happy while I was doing what I love, even though I had doubt on my side. Great point. great point. I think that for me, I'm very similar. Not only did I have that ultimate goal, I had the emotion attached to it. It's really what I wanted to do. But for me, what I struggled with last year was getting out of survival mode. I had gone from long-term thinking, long-term planning, and having this out in front of me and working towards this in my business to very short-term, paycheck to paycheck kind of thinking. And it had been so long doing that I struggled to get back to where I am now. And that's why this program even started. So I thank you all for joining me every morning on this. One of the things that I really struggled with that Cameron described was being hyper conscious of other people's perception of me as I was making changes in my business. And it was because it was something new. I was going to do it, but I would do things more slowly because I would be held back by thinking about somebody else's view of me. I love what he says about he got over that. And he saw himself being more happy, productive, and happy while he was doing what he loves. He still has doubt on his side, but you were able to turn it around. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Cameron. And for me, I greatly value the handful of people that are on my side because they help to keep me away from having that doubt be too much, have too much of a stronghold on me. Good morning, Craig. Welcome. It's good to see you again. Hope all is well. Any other thoughts about the power of the mind? Well, maybe put it that way, the power of the mind. Have you experienced that? Have you experienced being able to consciously control something? Consciously consciously control your thoughts, feed your subconscious so that you could ultimately see change. I'm going to go back to the why I really like being a trainer is because we can see immediate results. Not so hip on working on the insides. Not so hip. Because it's the engineer in me says, problem, solution, done. Can't do that with people. Hence, I partner with life coaches and coaches who can work on the inside stuff because that's not where I go. You know? I can share my stuff. I'll share my side. I'll share how I've done something. Christy, yes, inside work gets messy. Yes, I'm just going to leave that there. And Betsy, yes, and oftentimes with support. I am aware when I'm in my doubt mode or I get called out on it by my loyal husband. Same here. Out of nowhere, my husband will just say, hey, you got this. Remember I told you, just keep at it. Just keep going. You'll be just fine. And sometimes I'm not feeling doubtful. I mean, sometimes I am. So I don't tell him to stop telling me that. We all need a reminder, don't we? I rely a lot on that inner circle of people that I have. Grateful that I have them there. Attitude of gratitude is huge for me. Thinking about what I've done and what I have. Yeah, Betsy. That's definitely a big part of a positive mental attitude is to approach things with a sense of gratitude. And if we don't have it, we can think our way into it. That's an interesting way to do it. And I've done that too. I have done that too. It takes some effort sometimes, right? You know how I say, take a step back, take a breath, gather your thoughts, focus on something different, change your state, because you know you can. If you don't believe you can change your state, just by chance somebody in here might not believe that, you really can change your state. Remember when you were fighting with somebody? I don't care if it was just an argument, if it was an intense debate, if it was playing cards and you thought they were cheating, you're fighting, and someone knocks at the door. Oh, you can be so happy so quick. Yes, you can do that. So what happens is you physically change your behavior, which can have an effect on your thoughts and your emotions. Yeah, and then Betsy says, if you're tired and there's a fire, oh, you can wake up quickly. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so some ideas being thrown out, which are pretty terrific. Linda, I write ideas down a lot, so sometimes I'll reference what I've written and see how far I've progressed. Oh, that's great. It's excellent. Betsy, sometimes I journal or meditate or swim or do yoga. It'll shift everything. Total getaway, right? Because it's all in our heads. I get so wrapped up in a lot of other things. Well, whatever I'm wrapped up in, honestly, is what's feeding my subconscious. It is. And that's why it continues, is because I don't have conscious effort every single day, do I? I don't have that much discipline yet. I don't have that discipline that says the minute that I get swirling, that I stop it. That's what I'm working towards. Because that's affecting the subconscious. That's auto-suggestion as well if it continues, right? If that's every single day you're finding yourself really wrapped up in swirling thoughts about the same thing. Time to take a look at that. Because it's stopping you. It stopped me. It stopped me from doing a lot of things. Any other thoughts you'd like to share? Okay, for those that are interested, the next couple of days, weekday mornings, 8 a.m. Whoops, that's the wrong link, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We gather here for just this discussion. You can go here to a scheduled blab because you can't find it on the front page. And shortly, as in just a few minutes, I am hosting a professional networking meeting. I'm going to share with you the link. And we don't have a presenter today. It will be professional networking. I'll facilitate a formal structure of networking amongst each other. That starts in 5 minutes, so I'll be shutting this down shortly. Oh, that's okay, Cindy. I'm glad you stopped by. It was good to see you. Success Mindset resources. These are free downloads. Hold on, let me get the link. Copy the link. All right. And I will shut down the recording. So thank you, everybody, for being here this morning with me. Thank you, Christy, for joining me in the live stream. And for those watching the replay, woohoo, thanks for sticking with us this long. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.